One of the biggest things that was emphasized about the city of Detroit, about the comeback of our city, is music. And now MusicTown Detroit is a culmination of all of that. We're really trying to bring, every kind of artist, every kind of genre together, from young to old, and it kind of all starts right here at MusicTown Detroit.
And today, of course, we're celebrating women. We have a great, great lineup of women to talk to you, and including, let's introduce our first woman.
We're going to start this off with some music. Is anybody ready for some live music in here?
Does that sound good?
Welcome to the stage, Kacey Musgraves!
Thanks for being here today. I was just coasting, never really going anywhere. Caught up in a web, I was getting kinda used to staying there. And out of the blue, I fell for you. And now you're lifting me up instead of holding me down, stealing my heart instead of stealing my crown. Untangled all the strings from my wings that were tied. I didn't know him and I didn't know me. Cloud nine was always out of reach. Now I remember what it feels like to fly. You give me butterflies. Kiss full of color makes me wonder where you've always been. I was hiding in doubt till you brought me out of my chrysalis. Then I came out new. All because of you. And now you're lifting me up instead of holding me down, stealing my heart instead of stealing my crown. Untangled all the strings from my wings that were tied. I didn't know him and I didn't know me. Cloud nine was always out of reach. Now I remember what it feels like to fly. You give me butterflies. Yeah, you give me butterflies. And now you're lifting me up instead of holding me down, taking my hand instead of taking my crown. Untangle all the strings from my wings that were tied. I didn't know him and I didn't know me. Cloud nine was always out of reach. Now I remember what it feels like to fly. You give me butterflies. Yeah, you give me butterflies. Ooh, yeah. Thank you.
All right, Kacey Musgraves, everybody.
Thank y'all for being here.
So I know some of you might have came here just to hear a Kacey Musgraves song, and then you're like, all right, I've done it.
Check.
I did it, I'm out of here. No, but we're actually, we're gonna learn a lot today. I know a lot of you came here because you are probably interested in the music business, whether it's management, promotions, artists, and we're going to try to cover all of that today. Obviously, Kacey is going to represent the artist standpoint in songwriting. And then we'd like to bring out some people in more of the management positions as well. So Katie Dean, the VP of Promotion from MCA Nashville. Welcome to the stage.
She is. And then the day-to-day manager from Sandbox Entertainment, we have Sam Borenstein. And then I've got one more. The director of Regional Northeast MCA is Michelle Terrell. So Michelle is the one that kind of pushed all of this forward, and I'm going to let her talk right now about why, because it's really important to recognize.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for coming very, very much. So I have been in Michigan my whole entire record career. I went to college for broadcasting and then found out that there was a whole world on the other side in records, not just being on the radio, because I'm not very good on the radio. So I realized that when you live in Michigan, or you're not in an industry town like New York or LA or Nashville, that it's really hard to know how to even begin when it comes to this business. You really just, and usually, I mean, nobody in my family ever had a career in the music business in any way, shape, or form. And so I realized that it was hard, and it was really hard for me to get that footing when I started. And so, and it's even harder, it was even a lot harder being a woman, because when I came out of college, the record industry was a very male-dominated business. And when I started in promotion in '96, there was me and there were 16 other people that did my job, and all of them were men in Detroit. I was the only woman. And so I still have always felt really strongly that it's important to make everybody know that if this is something you care about, you can do it. There's jobs you don't even know exist. There's a lot of jobs you don't even know about. And that if you are just really determined and really focused and work really hard, you can have a career in this world. And it could look like there's 3 people on this stage that are all representing different areas, and there's 100 behind the scenes that you don't even know about. But at least this might give someone here an idea or a way to get started. So that's why I wanted to do this. So
I actually have a question for you before we move on, and this is something
that wasn't part of this.
I've actually asked this question before, not directly to you, but I always thought about it because most, I think, of the record reps or people in promotions in our genre in country music are in Nashville. So I always thought, how does Michelle do this still living in Michigan? How does that work out for you?
Well, I've actually turned down a really big job with a competitor a long time ago because they said, well, you'd have to move to Nashville. And I said, no, I think I can do my job better from here because I live here and I can be part of the community, and I can really, sometimes when you're in an industry town, you get a little influenced by just what's going on there. And what I do is Northeast radio promotion and marketing. So once an artist is already signed to MCA, I'm responsible for marketing them and developing them with radio and getting them exposed and getting their record on the radio, because there's only 24 hours in a day, there's only so many minutes in an hour, and we all have to compete for that space. And so my job is to make a compelling case for our artists' music to be played, and then also to build a story and develop our new artists. The most important part of my job is breaking new artists and breaking talent and bringing up the next generation. And so I tell people that being in Michigan, I mean, I can drive to Grand Rapids, I can drive to Lansing, I can drive to Columbus, and I can be right in the heart of my market. And fortunately, I work for people who support that and think that that's important too. So sometimes being in the home office is not what it's always cracked up to be.
Well, I think it's important to know that because a lot of people, I think, when you kind of ponder about getting into the music business or any type of entertainment business, you think, all right, Michigan is my home, but I either have to go to New York, LA, or Nashville. But you can actually do it from here right at home.
And yeah, and some jobs some things you do, and that's going to come up today. But there are some ways also that you can stay here. So that's it. That's it for me.
All right, we'll move
All
on.
right. Oh, I'm so loud compared to that. Sorry. So I think we're going to get started, and I would like everyone to introduce themselves once again and then explain exactly what your job is in the day-to-day, and I'll start over there on the end with Sam.
Hey guys, I'm Sam Bornstein. I am based in Nashville. I'm actually Kacey's day-to-day manager over at Sandbox Entertainment. I actually started my career in event management, so completely separate from management of an artist, but overseeing events in Arizona. That's where I'm from. And from that, to what Michelle said, became a regional for Sony Music and was based out west. So I stayed in Arizona and covered the West Coast territory for about 5 years before moving to Nashville. Fell back into artist management last year, and every day is different in my world. So some days we're on the road, some days we're making a record, some days we're doing TV. It's kind of just rolling the dice and keeping the ship sailing, making sure that everything is running in her world every day. So that's kind of my scope of my job at the moment.
Okay, Kacey, explain your job title and what do you do?
I am Kacey. I make songs. I am from Texas, but I live in Nashville now. And I am I guess you could say, recording artist slash singer-songwriter for a living, touring musician, I guess. I don't know. Started out really wanting to be, like, grew up as a little girl, like, really wanting to be, like, a singer. Like, I want to be a singer. And then, and always just, like, pursued music, I guess, from an early age. And by pursue, I mean just sang wherever I could sing, whether it was, like, festivals or, like, you know, local stuff. And that eventually, it kind of kept going in my interest. It kept my interest through middle school, through high school. And then, you know, as we were graduating, like, all my friends were going to go to college, and I just decided not to do that in lieu of trying to pursue music and not really having a backup plan. So I decided to move to Austin right after high school. Austin was like 4 hours from where I'm from, 4.5. So, and it's a pretty big music town. So I thought it was kind of a good way to get my feet wet. And my parents weren't like, you know, they were more okay with me moving there than moving completely out of state at first. So tried Austin out, and then eventually decided that I wanted to move to Nashville because I'd heard so much about the songwriting community. And so in 2008, at the end of 2008, I moved to Nashville. And it was interesting once I kind of got in, and Nashville's a very word-of-mouth town. It's everybody knows everybody, and word spreads quickly, you know, when there's new people in town or whatever. If you really jump in and try, you know, you can make a lot of headway quickly. So one writing session led to another, and I just decided to work you know, as hard as I could, like writing and just meeting people, and eventually one thing led to another. And it was interesting because I had always thought that I wanted to be a singer, but when I got a chance to be part of the songwriting community, I was like, whoa, okay, wait, I can like sit on my ass and make money, taking ideas out of my brain and, like, you know, making songs. And eventually that led to a publishing deal, me writing for other artists. And I did that for a few years, and I fell in love with that so much that I was like, screw being an artist. Like, I can just make a living doing this, and it's really gratifying. And then fast forward, and I got the chance to become an artist myself and put out my own record, and I thought, like, why not? You know, I can always go back to being a songwriter if I really want to. But anyway, that's kind of how it got going. And then I did fall in love with making my own records and becoming my own artist. And I don't know, I'm still doing it. So I guess I'm good. I don't know.
I totally appreciate the honesty there, because, you know, you go through, when you're on your journey, you go through different phases. And so not everybody maybe can see that. So I totally appreciate that as well. And then Katie, do you want to talk about yourself?
I grew up playing guitar badly and wanting to be so much better, and kind of hacked my way through, you know, college. And I came home on break. I was undeclared, but still pursuing music. And I came home on spring break, and my dad and I were having the first adult conversation we ever had. And he looked at me and he said, "I have a major called rock star. What exactly are you planning to do?" probably about a buzzkill. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I actually was going to a small college in North Carolina, and I transferred to another college, Appalachian State, don't hate, and pursued a music industry degree. And that program was literally in its second year, and so the guy that was running it owned an instrument store. So there was no copyright class, there was no studio class. I mean, it was basically still sort of a performance major married with a business major. And I was getting subscriptions to Music Row magazine and everything else because I had really fallen in love with country, and I knew that I wanted to get to Nashville, and I didn't know what it was going to look like or what exactly I wanted to do. I actually had bought a book that was all the careers in the music industry, and so I thought, I'm going to be a concert promoter, or I'm going to be a tour manager and all that. But I think the reality is that you can have an idea, and then your life is going to go in a variety of directions. So I graduated on Saturday, drove to Nashville on Sunday, started an internship on Monday in Nashville, and that led to my first job. And I've been at Universal for 13 years, but I've had stops at Lyric Street Records. Promotion was not something that I sought out, but it was one of the things that sort of fell into my lap. And as Michelle will tell you, there's nothing more gratifying than being with an artist, hearing their song on the radio for the first time, because radio is still the conduit for things. That's still, obviously we have a lot of ways to access music now, but Nashville is very much a song-driven town, and obviously, radio is a medium that will never go away. And I'm fortunate enough to work with a team of people. I have 5 regionals that report to me, Michelle here, and then they're all scattered across the country, and they each have their own territory. And so what I do is sort of try to steer the ship from Nashville and go out and help get radio, obviously airplay for all the artists, as well as sort of working in the overall strategy for the artists in the hometown office. So
I think one of the most important things that I've noticed so far is that for young people too, thinking about what you want to do for the rest of your life, it's a lot. When you're coming out of school, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Everyone here has spoken to saying that I didn't know what it was going to be. My life kind of went this way and that way, and it was the same for me getting into radio. I had no idea, and one day you kind of have an epiphany and something happens and you're on the right path. So for anyone who is really torn on which way to go, I would say, just kind of follow your heart and do what you love, and not what other people are telling you to do, because at the end of the day, you got to love your job. Holly and I can attest to that. We love what we do.
I wanted to be a whale rider before I got into radio. I was going to ride the whales. And I said, I'm either going to be a radio DJ or ride whales. And everyone told me to get a real job. And this is a real job. These are all real jobs and real things that you can do. So I think we have some questions from you guys, and we want to get to those. I know we got not so much time, and Michelle's going to ask them.
So these questions are from out in the audience. So if you want to raise your hand and claim it, it's okay. If you don't, that's okay too. But there's some good ones in here. This one is probably directed at Kacey. Living in Michigan and not having connections in Nashville, what are the things that I can do to catch the eye of talent scouts, record labels, the industry overall?
Hello. What's your name? Nice to meet you. Well, I guess I would first say it would depend on what kind of music that you want to pursue. Would it be country, you would say? Then I would definitely say you need to move to Nashville. There's a giant line of people that are waiting in line to be noticed, and the people that work in the industry there are just completely bombarded all the time by artists and songwriters trying to get to the next step. And if you're not there and actually present to win, it's almost impossible to get to the head of the line, unless you just have these incredible songs that no one's ever, what I mean? You have to be there to meet with these people, drop your songs by, maybe grab coffee with them, and you're just not going to have an edge over the other people who are physically present if you're not there. So I would say definitely, if country is what you're into, then I would say you should probably move there. Yeah.
And it's funny because that's not the first time that I've heard that. When we've done these panels, everybody has said, oh, you need to move to Nashville. You need to move to Nashville if that's what you want to do. So our next question is, if you want to work in the music industry, what's a good position to start out in the music industry right out of college? Does anyone? Whose question was that? No, I can't see anyone's
Anonymous.
hand. It's you're in the middle over there. Who wants to take this question? Let's start out of the music industry right out of college.
I'll take it. Any job. Any job.
Like even getting coffee or...
I mean, I literally, my first job, I got hired out of my internship was in the mailroom, and I was wearing my mother's Talbot's pantsuits, stuffing packages of CDs, and I was doing it for no money and happy to be there. I mean, that's the reality of it. Is honestly, it really is. I mean, Kacey alluded this too, but Nashville is a very small, everybody knows everybody town, and so much of it is networking. And you get your foot in the door one way. I mean, that company that I started at obviously was not where I wound up being, but it got my foot in the door, and you get that first job, then that makes it a lot easier to get that second job because it is a small town and people know each other.
I would say some of the biggest CEOs probably in Nashville started out doing the most odd jobs you could think of that you probably wouldn't imagine leading to what they're doing now. But yeah, they were willing to kind of eat it for a while and like learn the ranks, and then I don't know, they moved up.
Dirks Bentley actually was. I used to go see him play at Market Street downtown, and he was working at TNN, and that was his day job. While he was playing at night, trying to get his foot in the door. And it's funny. So that's a good example of guys that have kind of hustled and done whatever by any means necessary to kind of get to that next level. TNN was a Nashville network. It was a sort of before the CMT days. That was sort of the other one.
Well, even like a normal job, we were talking to Jimmy Allen, who is another new and upcoming artist. He was talking about he got a job at a gym so that he could network with people who were positive and on that. And he's like, everyone's working out, so I got a job at the gym. And I thought, well, that's, if you can't get a job in TV, that's another way as well.
But a lot of artists, I think, started as bartenders and just getting the opportunity to play downtown in any of the bars down there and just show face. I mean, there's guys like Cole Swindell who started as a merch guy and worked with Luke and started writing with him on the road and now is his own amazing artist. And I mean, it kind of is just, the internship programs in Nashville are amazing. Like every opportunity that you can, there are multiple, they are every semester in the summer, and there's multiple departments. So you can also kind of say, hey, I want to try this one out, and then even jump to a completely another one, as the next semester progresses. And a lot of the hiring actually, I think, comes from the internship programs. I know being over at Sony, kind of watching our interns come in, the rate of how many have gotten jobs through it has been pretty significant. And even over at Sandbox, all of our assistants that work with us were all interns. So the opportunity's there. It's kind of just, like Kacey said, being present and being available to the community.
But also on that note, though, I would say if you want to, if it's in your heart to like want to be an artist or the one performing or writing, I would say probably don't waste your time maybe with being on the other side of the coin. Like, would you say that? Like, as in, you can't work your way up and on the management side or whatever, but also secretly have a burning desire to be on stage, because it's like it just doesn't really work out. It's just kind of a conflict of interest, really.
Right. If I walked in tomorrow and said, hey, I want to be an artist, that would be super weird.
Yeah, so like decide early on, like, am I going to be in front of the camera or behind the camera, and then follow that. Yeah.
This is probably a Kacey question, although Katie, you can talk about feelings too if you want.
We have lots of feelings.
What are those? How do you put down feelings into words to create lyrics, and how do you get inspired?
Well, you just got to do it and know that, like, when you first start doing it, it's probably not going to be great. But it might be, though. You might be, like, a genius. I don't know. I mean, that's like a really interpersonal thing to ask, because, I mean, I don't really know. There's not really, like, a handbook. It's just kind of, I don't know, whatever feels right to you. And inspiration can kind of come from anywhere. But I find to be inspired mostly by just real life and like things that I actually go through, relationships, arguments. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting one. Like, I don't know how to tell anyone else to get inspired. I mean, one thing that does trigger inspiration to me is like seeing live shows, which I honestly, even though weirdly I do this for a living, I'm always performing. I don't really get to see anybody else's shows, but that's inspiring. I mean, movies, like, I don't know, just opening yourself up to different situations, different kinds of people, and I don't know, paying attention, I guess, is one thing, because inspiration could come to you and you may not really realize it, but if you're paying attention, you could go, oh, wait, dang, that's a good song idea, or whatever, and you have to like write it down or like pay attention to your dreams that you might have. Like I've had song ideas come to me in dreams before, and like they've actually become songs. So I don't know. That's a kind of an interesting one, but it's different for everybody.
Are you writing the ideas down on napkins, or are you putting it in your phone now?
Usually my phone.
Okay.
But yeah, like I'll have an idea pop up in a dream. I'm like, yes, this is it rhymes and everything. And then I'm like, and then I like wake up and I'll put it down. I mean, it's rare, but like, and then I'll be like, wait, actually that's a terrible idea. But once or twice that has like, materialized into a song.
I love that. We have another question for you as well. I know that I want to be a singer-songwriter, but how do I become more confident in front of crowds? Because right now I'm terrified. LOL.
That was my question.
That was whose question was that? Okay.
Aw.
She's owning it in a crowd.
What's your name? Maggie. Nice to meet you. That's another interesting question because that's also different for everybody. And different situations can trigger different feelings. But I will say the more you perform, the easier it gets, the more confident that you get. It gets a little less jarring, but we were talking about this backstage, and I don't think really there's any performer that doesn't feel something when they go on stage and they're performing in front of people. I mean, it's a rush, and it's kind of the reason that we all do it. If you go up there and you just kind of feel dead inside, I mean, what are you doing really? But there are things that can help. Tequila. Oh, never mind.
So I gotta wait a few years.
Oh, yeah. Wait on that. But
She won't be terrified when she's 21. It'll be fine. Couple.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because like my publicist works with Adele, and he has stories about her just pacing the hallways, just freaking out with anxiety about going on stage fright or whatever. So, and you would never think that somebody that iconic has problems with that. So I guess no, you're not alone, in feeling that way. And I don't know. Wait till you're 21. It'll get better.
I recommend deep breathing or the superhero pose. Like, sorry, literally do that for 10 seconds in front of your mirror, and you'll be on it.
Great.
And actually, we worked a project with Lionel Richie a few years ago, and he actually had us out to his house, and it was this album that we put out to ski a few years ago, and we were kind of talking to him because he's Lionel Richie, right? But Lionel struggled with that too, and so the question was asked of him, and he said, "You know what I would do?" He said, "I would wake up in the morning, and I would go downstairs, and I'd go into my bathroom, and I'd look in the mirror, and I'd say, I am Lionel freaking Richie, And boom, and that's how he psyched himself up. So try that, Maggie.
Here's another one, Dina Carter. I don't know if y'all know her, but she wrote a bunch of different songs and was an artist herself. But she's so cute, and I was talking to her about that at one point, and she said that her trick would always be doing something secret that only she knows about, that the rest of the crowd wouldn't know about, like draw a smiley face on the bottom of your foot, or write like screw you on the bottom of your foot, or I don't know, put a little charm in your pocket or whatever. And so whenever you're on stage, you think about the smiley face on the bottom of your foot, and the fact that nobody knows about it but you. It's like your little secret. I think that's cool.
Does anybody do the picture the crowd naked thing anymore? Is that a thing? I don't think that ever worked for anyone, did it?
Nah.
I didn't think so. It just makes everything
just
weird.
you, Rob. Just you.
Right. Which makes it extra weird now. You're welcome, everyone. So here's a question from Gianetti, I think it is. What traits have you seen in artists that have sparked your interest in terms of success or potential?
You want to take that one?
Sure. I mean, I think that for us, we're not looking to follow, we're looking to lead, and it's about someone who has a voice. I mean, that's why literally Kacey's my favorite artist, because when she is singing or her songs, it's like I feel like that they've come out of my own head. You know what I mean? And we're not looking for copycats. We're looking for people that are truly artists and icons in the making and that have something to say. I mean, there's, my Uber driver on the way here, who's actually from England originally, was talking about Nashville as his favorite city because there's no bad karaoke in Nashville. Which I thought was hilarious, but it's true because he goes, he's like, if you're bad, they'll throw you out of the bar there, And it's true because the world is full of people who can sing amazing, but what do you have to say? And what do you have that's going to connect to somebody and do it in a way that's not been done before? And so, I mean, like I said, there's a ton of people that can sing songs and stuff, but we're looking for actual artists, and that's a huge deal. And I'm super, super proud to be able to work for a roster that is so unique and so committed to that artistry.
Awesome. I can say on our side, on the management side too, we're doing the exact same thing. It's who's standing out, and it's not just the cookie cutter mold anymore of the really super talented singer. There has to be that X factor that's standing out now, because there's just so much competition.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just kind of finding that thing that sets yourself apart.
I read something the other day that was talking about how the things that eventually become really popular over time had the slowest start, or took the longest to become like that, I guess. It's usually those things that become iconic or legendary or the most talked about over a longer span of time than the things that capitalize on modern trends just to, kind of fishtail on that and stay relevant. Because once those trends die, I mean, you go down with them, So even if you're doing something that not a lot of people are catching on to at first, and it feels like no one's getting this, and they should be, maybe. I don't know, I would just say just stick with it, because you're eventually, like, a slower build is a stronger one, You don't want to just go up to just go down really quickly. So it might feel like you're taking, like, the long way, but I think it pays off in the end.
And at least it's real.
Yeah, and then it's real, and, like, wouldn't you rather, like, go down in flames for, like, what you really are than be known for whatever you're really not, I don't know.
Do we have any? You have a question, Michelle.
Maybe could each of you, just for a minute, just elaborate on jobs that interact with your jobs that the audience might not have any idea about? Like, because each of you interact very regularly with other aspects of the business that nobody's necessarily going to know about. And if you guys could do that, that would be awesome.
Well, I can definitely say that me standing on stage, for me to get to that point, there are many people that have to do things in order for me to be able to stand up there and just sing. I mean, there's an entire crew of guys that get up way before I ever do every day, and they're usually asleep after me doing things, setting things up, making calls, just laying the groundwork, I guess. Obviously, there's the band. And then, like, management, everyone behind those scenes, connecting the dots, getting me opportunities, making them come to fruition, helping me stay on my schedule. And, I mean, there's so much that goes into that. There's assistants that help them. There's business management that help the financial side of touring, make it, because without the financials, like, it's literally, you can't even, like, put gas in the bus. So there's that. I mean, there's publishing, which helps, I guess, keep all my songs organized and, all the royalties, like, organized. I mean, God, there's just so much. Like, I know there's wardrobe, there's stylists, there's makeup, there's hair. Who am I leaving out? Because I know there's a million.
There's a huge team, but we work with, I work really closely every day with Kacey's agents.
Agents.
The offers coming into us, what we're doing, touring and routing. We work really closely with the promoters of who's owning each show in each city, and finding out the best ways of putting things on sale and getting stuff to the fans the quickest means possible. I kind of liaise between the label and Kacey, so I get to work really closely with Katie on what we're doing with songs and the radio side of things, and the plans. Everybody from the publicists to our glam team to our tour managers and our crew, and there's a lot of components to it. There's a lot of behind the scenes people that kind of keep everything going on a daily basis. So,
yeah, and obviously for me, for the record label side of things, every label is sort of built similarly in the fact that you've got your promotion department, which is responsible for radio. You've got like a marketing department that will also include sort of streaming. You have A&R, what they call artist and repertoire, which are the people that are sort of working with the artists directly, working on the songs, the records. We work very closely with them because obviously there's a lot of discussion about what we're bringing to radio and when we're bringing it to radio. And then we have everything from sort of legal affairs to people doing content for us, and all of that is a part of a larger look. Like I said in meetings a lot of times, that are interacting with every other department as well as managers and sometimes artists too, because you're talking about trying to basically, convey the artist's vision to the public, and that's in addition to working with, there are 175 monitored radio stations that we're responsible for getting airplay week in and week out. So we're dealing with all those people as well, in addition to sometimes with agents when we're doing radio shows and things like that. So it is a lot. And there are jobs, frankly, that are just being developed. Like one of the things that is becoming a new trend is dealing with guys doing sponsorships. That's become a huge thing in terms of like an NTR kind of thing. And both stations are doing it, and we're doing it as well. That's something that's been really recent in terms of a new job. So
You mean like finding out what an artist is passionate about, like maybe in a brand sense or whatever, a lifestyle sense, and then going after those companies and finding the best fit, like Corona sponsoring a tour or whatever, and like what the artist will and won't do as far as like meet and greets and this and that and the other in exchange for that. Okay, yeah.
And we have that in-house now too in management. Like there's someone who's dedicated to brand and sponsorships and handles all of that for us and kind of goes out and puts together some cool projects that we've been fortunate to work with. So.
And data too has become such a huge thing. I mean, if any of you have seen the movie This is Spinal Tap, we always laugh about sort of true story. Our Southeast Regional Louis Newman was the inspiration for Artie Fufkin, the promo guy. That is 100% true story. They tailed him. That guy's been working records. He worked like Moses' first stone tablet. That's how long he's been around. But the game has changed a lot. Again, with streaming and consumption. We used to talk about sales, and now we talk about consumption. And so now it's a matter of we're all looking to aggregate the data of YouTube streams to find out, frankly, it's like, is this song working? Is this album working? And so it's become a lot more of that in recent years than it has been, hey there, hi there, ho there, kind of stuff. So it's changed a lot.
So one thing that we haven't asked, and then we're going to get to the question next, is we assembled this panel of women, and we haven't asked any questions about women and what it means. And are there any challenges? Do you feel that there's challenges, and how have you overcome those? Sam.
I've been super fortunate and had a lot of amazing men who have opened doors for me personally, from moving me out of Arizona to bring me to Nashville to give me more opportunity. And there are those guys that exist that are trying to create a fair playing field and see that we can do this job or any of our jobs just as good as them. So I can speak and say that for me, I haven't had a lot of hurdles that I've had to cross. I've just been blessed to have some people who have really kind of paved paths for me and given me the opportunity. My superior now also is a male who, we have a pretty predominantly female office, and he kind of inspires us to be us and do us and kind of help us with where we need it, but kind of lets us just do our thing. And I think that's super important, to feel like you have the power to do that stuff and to be on the road and kind of have control without necessarily being kind of micromanaged. But yeah, I've been lucky. I know on the radio side and on the artist side, there's definitely been some struggles, but I'll let you guys talk on that.
I mean, to what she said, like there have been a lot of positive males in and around like my career that have done a lot of good things. And I don't know, it's hard to say. I don't want to generalize anything, especially like in the radio world, because there are wonderful people there on both sides of the gender spectrum that like, I don't know, that champion just music in general, but there definitely is still kind of an extra expectation, I would say, or an extra pressure really on, I'd say, female artists to be more accommodating in certain situations, more, I don't know how to really explain it, I guess just give extra attention or do certain things that males wouldn't be expected to do. And it's hard sometimes to even put your finger on that, but I know it's a factor. Yeah, like just for instance, the resting bitch face, we've all heard that term. And I just feel like it's something, like at award shows or whatever, if a female is caught like not smiling when, they're shown on camera, they're, termed like a bitch or whatever. But, that's rarely ever, I don't think I've ever heard it applied to like a guy, like say Chris Stapleton, well, he didn't smile when Eric Church won. It's kind of actually, they kind of think it's cool that he's like a tough guy. So there still is like a double standard. I don't know, I think that plays a part in success, like song success sometimes. And unfortunately, like plays a bigger role than how good the song actually is still. And I think that's unfair. Hopefully that's going away. But there are a lot of good people out there that champion just good songs. But I think we still kind of have like a long way to go, unfortunately. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely been progress made. I mean, Universal has 4 imprints, and I'm the only female VP of promotion. So promotion especially, and frankly, largely a lot of the decision makers at radio have been male, historically. And I would say within the last probably decade, that has evened out considerably. Like now there are at least 4 other female VPs of promotion in Nashville. So, and not only that, but we're sort of not just there, but I feel like that has been a segment of the industry that has been largely male, basically the entire history of the industry. So, like Kacey said, I mean, we have improved a lot, but I also think that there's always a long way to go. And same thing, we've all had people that have mentored us or opened doors for us. I know that, Luke Lewis, who used to run Mercury, was a huge mentor for me and really helped put me in a position to succeed and to saw that and wanted to help manifest that. And I think that everybody needs champions, no matter who you are or what you do. So I think we've all been really lucky that we've had champions and we've tried to live up to those expectations.
I noticed there was a couple hands in the air. Did you have a question over here?
Hi. So I would like to present a group question to you guys. So I would consider myself a singer, soon to be an artist once I know I'm ready to do that. So my group question is, in this industry, it's very, very hard to trust people. You meet so many people and you know that you have to network and a lot of people can offer you things. So you have a manager, and this is your manager, correct?
She's one of them, yeah.
Okay, so a few managers. So what would you say is the key thing to really finding a great manager? And as a manager, because I've also thought if I did have to manage, I know I can do that. What makes you stay around to manage an artist? Like, what is the key to keeping a strong relationship? Because one bad thing, I don't want to deal with you anymore, screw you, goodbye, I'll do my own thing. So what keeps the relationship going? The best way you guys can answer that question.
Well, for me, when I started looking into like, well, maybe I might need a manager, I had a friend that was helping me. He was my publisher at the time and knew a lot of people in town, so I trusted him and his contacts and his opinion. But he helped me set up lunches with a bunch of different managers in town, and I just went and spent time with each one of them. And whoever, like, I got the best. I mean, I brought like an armload of questions, and said, "This is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do." And Jason, my manager, still my manager, I got the best vibe from him, and I was like, I think he's unique, and I assessed a lot of different aspects, like how many artists does he have? Does he have time for me? What would he do with me? What would be his plan, really? And I liked his ideas the best, and I thought, like, this is the guy that I want to go with. And we negotiated basically a handshake deal, as in there's no contract. So the way he explained it to me is, you know, as long as this is working for you, it's working for me. And the second that it's not working for either of us, we just need to part ways amicably and not have, you know, a lot on the line, I guess. And I like that. I don't know. That I can walk away at any point if I really wanted to.
And before I get your answer to your question, because I thought about something, it's a personal or professional relationship with your manager? Managers.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's firstly professional, but over time, you know, you become friends. And I mean, I think that's definitely an important aspect. They have to get to know you, the ins and outs of you, and what you want, and what your boundaries are. And they're basically on the front lines for you, you know. So if they don't really know you, if you close yourself off from them, I mean, it's not going to help you or them. So I don't know. It's I'd say it stays somewhere in the middle, but that's healthy, I think. Yeah, I was trying to think. I was going to say one other thing, but I mean, you really kind of just know. You really get like a vibe, kind of. Yeah.
And what makes you stay around? Is it more of the music, or do you see the value in an artist, or is it really about what is coming to you into your pocket? So
yeah, I started with Jason and Sandbox about a year ago, and the way our structure is Jason kind of oversees the whole company, and we have multiple artists, and there's kind of a one of me for everybody that we represent. So I work with Kacey specifically day to day. So everything that's streamlined is usually most communication between me and you, and then anything on the that we need further on, we go to Jason on. But for me, I've dabbled in management for 3 years prior to even falling into the promotion side of things, and knew that in my heart I wanted to end up back in management. It was kind of where I felt I kind of thrived and was the most successful. But for me, finding an artist that I believed in and believed in their music, and kind of someone who's authentic and staying true to themselves no matter what, especially for me coming off of promotion for 5 years and just knowing that kind of backside of things was super important for me. Also, just working with Jason, I mean, there's opportunities that present themselves, and I've been fortunate to have a few doors that have opened that it's, again, the vibe, sitting down and feeling that the person that you're working with is the right fit. If Kacey wasn't the right fit and we couldn't communicate regularly, then, it wouldn't be the right thing. But we've been fortunate that it's been really good. So, and I think honesty, you can't be scared to talk to somebody. I mean, we've had our tiffs, and we just got to talk them through.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like working with anybody in any industry. I mean, you got to get to know each other and find the best ways of making it a feasible working relationship. Like, I want this to work, so let's find what works for you and what works for me. And it might be different for everybody, but yeah, you definitely have to be open and honest about that. You can't just shove your feelings down, because it doesn't help anybody. But
it's very much like a relationship. I mean, it's kind of the give and take of, how you are with partner. I mean, it's just a different type of relationship that you're, how you communicate, how you treat each other, the respect, the boundaries, all of those things kind of wrapped into one. But it's also big to have fun. So we try and have fun too when it's not all work.
that was great. Thank you.
So we're almost out of time, and we just have one more question, and that is, name a woman that you admire and look up to, either one that we know or one that we can Google later when we go.
Katie, you start.
Mine's easy. My ultimate hero, outside of Nancy Wilson from Heart, is Dolly Parton.
oh, nice. I might have to piggyback on that answer and say Dolly or Loretta, but they both are just unabashedly themselves, and I don't know, in a time where it probably wasn't very common for women to be outspoken, they just did it, and I don't know, they blazed a lot of trails and were smart businesswomen, but also I like that Dolly had equal parts sex appeal and humor, but also brains, and she wasn't afraid to show any of that. Kind of was like a triple threat in that area. But Loretta, as far as her, she wrote songs that were, I don't know, well, first of all, they got banned from radio. Writing about things that inspired her, that were actually happening to everyday people in real life, and that no one really wanted to talk about, like birth control or whatever. And, putting them into her art and standing behind those. And, at the time she got a lot of heat for it, but she stayed with it, and obviously she's a giant icon now, and that took a lot of bravery, I think.
And I can echo, I'm a big Dolly fan too, but I don't know, I just think I've been inspired by a lot of women, even now, the modern era of our women in Nashville that are just kind of making a name for themselves, and kind of building a platform that shows that we can all be leaders too. I mean, I respect the hell out of Katie and have watched her career for a long time. And to see that she's one of the few female VPs is really freaking cool to see that we're kind of changing the narrative. So there's a lot of women in these high-powered VP positions that are making a difference. So I think that overall is just really cool in general, and it's inspiring to see. So.
No, I was just gonna say, if there's one message
boost each other up. You know, don't tear each other down, because it just doesn't do anybody any good. And you know, we're Katie and I are as competitive as they come. I mean, we're brutal, but we also really believe everybody on here, we all believe in supporting and lifting each other up. And so, you know, sometimes I think people forget that in this business, and it's one of the best things about country. I think we still do that. And so that was my only final. That's it.
And thank you guys so much for coming here, being here, and sharing all your wisdom with us. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks.
All right.